when I take these different mediums and trying to combine them, things do kind of expand as you're working. So if I'm trying to figure out what a sound looks and the color of it is, while I'm painting, I'm thinking of different ways to apply painting. So that ends up almost adding another dimension to it. So a lot of my paintings end up being interpretations of a potential sculpture. So some of my pieces that I have up are also looking at that. So I'm trying to like house everything together in an art form that can breathe. So like what I was saying earlier, what musicians might feel and see and hear into their composition, well, like I've done a painting that kind of brings the idea of the composition of a musical piece in direct relation to composing a sculpted piece. So I freeze the process while doing it. So the painting suggests an unfinished piece or a process piece of a sculpture. The inner workings, because they'll put beams and rods out and they'll put clay on it and form it and everything else, and they'll do all these other things to make it either realistic, but in the like the end of my painting, it's basically a sculpted form, semi-realistic, but also the workings of it. So not only is it, like not only are these tributes to the musicians behind what they compose and perform with, it's also a tribute to their process. Like I think, anytime I think of this, one of my favorite images of any art is a notebook paper of a poem. And it's yeah, and it's everything. Like you can tell maybe they typed it out, and all of a sudden, like a day later, they'll have all these things crossed out and arrows going up and everything. And then that is like, so when all this comes down to what I'm trying to do, when I'm trying to house all these things, I'm trying to relate to how the human brain is putting it all together. So I think the root of it visually would be just a poet's scratch paper, because all of their thoughts are being composed and reiterated. Like, I mean, you think of something and how fast is that, right? And all these synapses are going.
And you have to get it down.
Yeah, and you have, right. Yeah, it's, you have, right. When you wake up in the middle of the night with something, you've got to write it down. You wake up, so you might lose it. All those things, and two, in the same thing, you can lose something, I'm sure, when you're composing or playing. Oh, what the hell was that? You go back to it and try to get that again. Or when I'm painting, that comes too. Something will just happen, and you got to figure, well, you can't just, I'll just wait for it to happen. You sit there for days and days and nothing else. So you got to keep exercising it, and you got to keep it alive. But there'll be a part of a painting that's really, really good, but it's a minor part of it, okay? But I got to relate that to the rest of it. So I'll have something like really nice down here and everything else, so that might end up taking over the entire thing, and I'll rework every shade, every line, and every dynamic, just because this little spot made more sense than the whole rest of it. Like 5% of it's better than the 95, so I got to make the 95 equal to this little 5, and it ends up being something cohesive then,